This is MTG Burgeoning, and in this video we are going to update and upgrade our Saskia the Unyielding Creature Tokens Matter EDH deck. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Up and Up series. Today we are updating and upgrading Saskia the Unyielding. We've got 4 cards going in and 4 cards coming out, and we're going to kick things off right away with 4th Aerolingas. Here we have a sorcery of Boros colors. It's X, a red and a white, and we create X, 2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. Whenever one or more creatures we control deal combat damage to one or more players this turn, we become the monarch, which means that at the beginning of our end step, we draw a card, and then we lose the monarch to any player that deals combat damage to us with any of their creatures. But with the number of creature tokens we have inundating our side of the battlefield, we should be able to defend that monarch very, very valiantly. This is just another example of a great creature token spell that's going to make Saskia even stronger than the build already is. With that Boros sorcery going into the 99, coming out is going to be Pest Infestation. Here was another sorcery, but this was a green one, but the double X casting cost was a little more prohibitive than I first thought. Here we would destroy up to X target artifacts and or enchantments, and then we create twice X 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens with, when this creature dies, we gain 1 life. So in a vacuum, what we're ending up losing here is we're losing the artifact and enchantment removal spell. That's really what we're doing here, and you also have to keep in mind that the 1/1 pests do nothing else other than gain us life when they die. So what we have with the human knight creatures created by the previous Boros sorcery, we're getting 2/2s that are trampling and haste versus 1/1s that just give us a life when they die. So putting them side by side with Saskia as the leader of this deck, I think you'll see that we're making an improvement over that transition. So we have 4th Aerolingas taking the place of Pest Infestation, and I don't feel bad about that change one bit. All right, the next card going in, we have the Mirkwood Bats. And yes, we kind of already showcased what the next card is after that, those good old double face cards. But we'll get to that card after we talk a little bit about this so powerful common. Here we have a 2/3 bat with flying for 3 and a black mana, which, let's face it, if that was the only thing it brought to the table, it is not playable here. However, oh baby, it's that block of text underneath this creature's evasion that makes it uber powerful in this type of build. Whenever we create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. In a deck that's sculpted around creating creature tokens, Mirkwood Bats and its common rarity becomes a very powerful win condition here. Just imagine if we jam 7 mana into 4th Aerolingas to create 7 of those 2/2 creatures. Each opponent loses 7 life if Mirkwood Bats is on our side of the battlefield. That is a no-brainer slam dunk into the 99 of a Saskia build, particularly one that leans on creating creature tokens. Very powerful addition. Actually might be one of the top cards in this build right now. With 1 powerful win condition going into the build, we need to probably reassess the win conditions in and of themselves and pull one out, maybe one of the weakest ones or weaker ones, for the purposes of creating balance throughout the 99 of this build. With that being said, the card that Mirkwood Bats is replacing is Debt to the Deathless. Now, this is one of my all-time favorite cards. It is criminally underrated. It is criminally underplayed, particularly in any decks that have white and black mana. The problem here is with the Saskia build, we're playing with 4 different colors because we also have green and red at our disposal. So that makes the number of potential win conditions we can add to a build that has 4 colors a lot higher. But keep in mind, in a vacuum, Debt to the Deathless, when we're talking about decks with white and black in them, Debt to the Deathless outperforms Exsanguinate every single time once X reaches 4 mana. To keep that in mind, once X reaches 4 mana, I'm sorry, I said that the wrong way. Once the entire spell, once all of the mana, including the colored mana symbols, once that reaches a total of 8, because Exsanguinate is X and 2 black, so Debt to the Deathless is X, 2 white, and 2 black. Once both of those spells reach a mana value of 8, Debt to the Deathless outperforms Exsanguinate every single time after X is higher than 8. Keep that in mind. It's criminally underplayed. Here, it just falls victim to 4 different colors, 4 different types of win conditions, and the lowest one has to fall, because to put the Mirkwood bats in, we got to take something out, and that's going to be Debt to the Deathless. Each opponent would lose 2 times X life, and we gain life equal to the life lost this way. I think you agree that just creating creature tokens over the span of an entire game, or in this deck that could just be 1 turn, Mirkwood bats is more powerful of an addition than Debt to the Deathless. All right, foreshadowing aside, the next card going in we're going to talk about here is Extus, Auric Overlord. We have a 2/4 legendary human warlock with double strike for 1, a white, and 2 black mana. It has the Magecraft ability, which means whenever we cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, we return target non-legendary creature card from our graveyard to our hand. Now, that is not a terrible ability in a deck that has a lot of creature spells. Unfortunately, this Saskia build, those cards are as rare as winter roses, because the majority of the cards in this deck are focused on creating creature tokens and not so much casting creature spells. Not that we couldn't use this side of the card, but Extus on this side is not the reason why we are including it into the 99 of the Saskia build. It's because of what's on the backside. And the backside we have here is Awaken the Blood Avatar. It's a sorcery for 6 in Rakdos colors, which may seem a little bit high, but we have a way in which to reduce the mana value of the spell. As an additional cost to cast this spell, we may sacrifice any number of creatures. This spell costs 2 generic mana less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. In a deck that's built around creating creature tokens, those tokens are oh so expendable, particularly as sacrificial fodder. So here, it's very reasonable to sacrifice 3 of our creature tokens to cast Awaken the Blood Avatar for just 1 black and 1 red mana. And when we do that, each opponent sacrifices a creature. And then we create a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste that has, whenever this creature attacks, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. That's just 1 creature token, but in this build, we have numerous ways to double the number of creature tokens we create. Keep that in mind. If we have any of those multipliers on our side of the battlefield, then Awaken the Blood Avatar is going to create more than just one of those 3/6 hasters. And just imagine when it turns sideways and you have 2, 3, 4 of them, and they're going to deal 3, 6, 9, or 12 damage to each opponent. That game is not going to last very long after Awaken the Blood Avatar is cast. Let's also not overlook the fact that each opponent does have to sacrifice a creature, which sometimes doesn't matter, but in Voltron builds could be a very, very important feature here. With Extus and Awaken the Bloodlord going in, coming out is going to be Cabaret Charm. This was initially included because of its ability to create 2 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. This Naya Charm gave us 3 different modes to choose, and that was the one we would choose the most. Although, as a secondary option, having creatures we control get +1/+1 and gain trample till end of turn, that wasn't terrible either. But Extus and the backside, Awaken the Bloodlord, is going to do a lot more for us than Cabaret Charm could. And our last card, speaking of token doublers and multipliers, going into the deck is Mondrak Glory Dominus. Here we have a 4/4 legendary Phyrexian Horror for 2 and 2 white mana. If 1 or more tokens would be created under our control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. This is Anointed Procession. This is Parallel Lives. This is getting jammed into the 99 of this build. We can also pay 1 and 2 white Phyrexian mana and sacrifice 2 other artifacts and or creatures to put an indestructible counter on Mondrak. That's perfect for the purposes of protecting our token doubler. With that token doubler going into the deck, we're going to take one out that is not as beneficial to us because it also helps out our opponents, and that is Primal Vigor, which is just a doubling season for every single player at the table. We are not in the game to help our opponents, so with Mondrak going in, our charity for our opponents is going out. And there you have it, MTG BC, some updates and upgrades for Saskia. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things